Welcome back to The Company Move, where we explore what life outside the film and television industry could look like by talking to folks who have made the leap. I'm your host, Rennie Pollack, a union camera assistant living and working in Chicago, Illinois. I'll be learning and growing along with you. It's season 2, y'all. Company's on the move. Rachel Fox worked as a union first assistant camera person in Los Angeles for over 10 years on music videos, commercials, television, and movies. At the ripe age of 31, she decided that she wanted a less stressful job, so she went back to school to be a lawyer. She's found her niche in homelessness prevention and is currently working at a legal aid organization helping low-income tenants in marginalized communities with eviction defense. She's also somehow raising 2-year-old twins at the same time. Don't ask her how. In her free time, she enjoys all things sci-fi, fantasy, and medium format film photography. Fuck, dude, I'm so stoked for you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you. Rachel and I know each other from way back when. I don't even know how many years.
2013? I don't know. I'm
I
guessing.
think before that, because I was still in Portland. So like 2012, we met.
Oh, I forgot.
For that little, we did a documentary together where I was like a local producer and Rachel was a camera operator, and it was a girls' rock camp. It was really cute and fun. And
Thank you for reminding me about that shoot. I went up to Portland for a job where Rennie and I got to hang out and work with a young girls camp where they were teaching the kids like gender pronouns way back before that was a thing. That was cool.
Yeah. Portland's always a little ahead of the game on that stuff. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what your job was in the industry, and how you got that?
I'm Rachel Fox. I was a union first AC for many years. I came out to LA to AC in 2011 in my final year of film school, and then AC'd all the way until 2021, I think was my last job, right before I went back to school. And that was only for
years.
Yeah, it was a long time. I think I was in the union for maybe 8 years of that. But like backing up, I went to film school to get into that career. I think in like 10th grade, I had a friend who I had bonded with over fantasy fiction. And we also made movies. Not she and I, but her little sister and I used to make movies, like crazy movies. We would reenact weird scenes, like from this 80s movie Waxwork, way more graphic than our age should have been watching at the time. But we would like film ourselves like as vampires and like eating like blood soup. It was so strange.
I love that.
That's how I had this like editing program called Video Explosion Deluxe, which was like a knockoff, $100 editing program. That was like Final Cut. And so I did that in high school. And I also did photography, and we had a darkroom in my high school as well. So I knew I wanted to do something in that realm. And that friend in 10th grade was like, I'm applying to school right now and you're going to love Emerson. You should just go to Emerson. So when it came time to apply to school, I just applied to the film program at Emerson, got in, and I did love it. I mean, people are going to have their problems with every institution, but I had a great time there, made a lot of good friends, moved out to LA with a lot of them. They kind of ship everyone out here for their last semester in film, and did an internship at a camera house and got jobs through the people that came in and prepped there.
Which camera house?
First, I worked at Division Camera, which then became the camera division when it merged with the camera house. And then I also at some point interned at Alternative Camera or Alternative Rentals.
Nice. And where are you from originally? You grew up in Massachusetts, right?
No, Connecticut. But
Connecticut.
Okay.
East Coast.
Yeah.
Lots of trees.
Yeah. And then I went to college in Boston.
Cool. And then did you know that you wanted to be in camera department from the get-go? Is that what you studied? Was camera assisting in college, or what was your goal, your hypothesis?
I don't know if there was, when I got to college, I think the first year I just tried everything. I did producing, I did directing, cinematography. Um, and just I always gravitated most naturally toward camera work. And I don't know if I knew what a cinematographer was. I think even like as far back as second grade, I wanted a camera. I always asked for a camera for every birthday, and had this like hot pink camera, film camera, 35 mil camera that I was obsessed with.
Nice.
So I just, no one ever taught me the different jobs of a film set. So I learned at film school that cinematography was what I wanted to specialize in. So I did that. Took all the cinematography classes that Emerson offered. Um, really like, I have a very detail oriented personality. I'm not necessarily into math or good at math, but when it came to like pulling focus or um, assisting the cinematographer, that was something that came really naturally to me versus something more creative, maybe like camera operating or cinematography, both things of which I did delve into, but there was always just kind of like this safe space for me in assisting, I think, where I was like, I can do this without thinking, like it's calming to me in a way. And I think you probably experienced that at some point when we got into a groove. Like Rennie and I have worked together, and I think,
Mm-hmm.
when you've, especially if you're working for a cinematographer or a DP that you've worked for a long time, I feel like you get to this nice rhythm.
Yeah, we had a shorthand. There wasn't a whole lot of words that needed to be said to know what was needed,
No,
whether it be gear wise or like snack wise.
nah,
Yeah.
I love when you brought me the perfect snack. No, I also loved like the side glances when something was being said. The first AD was making some ridiculous announcement, or a safety meeting
Hmm.
was going awry. Those are some of my
Yes.
favorite memories.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit about, just for people who don't know, what a first AC is, a focus puller, and when you say math, like what that means? I know what that means, but
Oh, yes, of
maybe
course.
people listening don't know.
A first AC is the person on set who, primarily, I think most people think of the first AC as the person who pulls focus, who changes the focus in the shot. Um, if you're watching a movie and the focus changes from someone in the background to the foreground or vice versa, they're the one taking the measurements, placing the marks. Or the second AC, the second assistant camera person is the person placing the marks generally. So that the actors land on their marks, so that if you have measured that they're 7 feet away, then you can set the lens to 7 feet so they are in focus.
And if they miss
Um,
that mark, you at least have a judgment of like where they should be versus where they are.
oh, one of my life magic tricks now, like not working in film, is telling people that I can tell them how far away something is to the inch. And I'll be like, I can get a measuring tape. I'll tell you how far that wall is on the other side of the room from where I'm standing. And I'll be like, 11 feet, 8 inches, measure. Tell me if I'm right. And they're always shocked.
That is a skill that I still do not have, so that is amazing.
But so not math, like tell me, like give me like a bill that's like, okay, here's your bill and here's your tip that you've added. I still have to pull out my phone calculator, so I can't do math. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
numbers, the detail of being a first AC is something that I very much like and have brought into my next job, which I'm sure
That's
we'll get more
amazing.
into.
We will definitely get into that. You were first ACing pretty much. I mean, I met you as a camera operator, but you were first ACing and we started working together for most of your career. Like, when did you start thinking about leaving?
Hmm. I think there were, the first 5 years of working in the film industry, it was just like so stressful, but I was also having so much fun. Like, it felt like going to summer camp every day. I loved the people I was working with. I
Hmm.
loved learning new things. And I just think that maybe there's something about most careers where after you've done it a certain amount of times, if you can't move up or you don't move up, it does start to get a little, maybe boring might not be the wrong word, but like I just felt like after, you know, 5 or 6 years, my brain started to want something more. And I wasn't necessarily sure I wanted to keep doing a job that was so hard on my body. Like my body would hurt at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And also the days were so long, 14 hours, often every single day a week. And I think I more was thinking in the long term. I was like, I want to keep doing this for now. I like doing this. Um, but eventually I want a job where I do not carry heavy equipment.
Yeah.
um, and I think that was one of my least favorite things about the job was moving the gear, loading the truck. I mean, I like loved a neat truck and the Tetrising of it, but when it came to the physical lifting, I wasn't made for that. And I was working out, I was in shape,
Hmm.
and I also was always worried about getting hurt. And like, the safety issues on set.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so there were like years of things I thought about. There was one year where I was like, I'm going to be a writer. I've always liked writing. And my friend, who you also know, I think Aaron Douglas, who's another A for
Yeah.
AC, and I both sat down and like each wrote our own book. We would like go to a cafe a few days a week. We're like, we're going to write books. That's what we're going to try.
That's
We don't want to be
awesome.
screenwriters. Yeah. And what I learned was that what I don't want to do is be a writer.
Hey, you got to try things out, right?
Yes. It wasn't that I was like, I'm bad at this. It was more like I don't like sitting and writing all day. I want something more interactive with people, I think. And Erin wrote a whole book, which is amazing. If you like fantasy,
I'm going to ask her.
yeah.
I'm going to ask her for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I never finished mine. And then after that, I think you know this, I was on an indie budget film. And the third day of filming, I was in a picture car that wasn't supposed to be moving. That did end up moving, and everything was moving so quickly that I didn't have time to inquiry into what was happening. But turns out the brakes on the picture car did not work. It was like a 1960s um, car without brakes or airbags, or not without brakes, the brakes didn't work, but without airbags, without seatbelts. So we were all stuffed in there with the camera with three actors,
Handheld in the back seat.
handheld in the backseat with the
Hmm.
cinematographer. And the car rolled down one of the steepest hills in Silver Lake, and we did crash, and I broke a rib. And that was a turning point for me where I was like, oh, like all of those safety concerns I've had on set are real. That should not have happened. There were so many places in the timeline of this shoot where that could have been stopped.
Hmm.
And it got me, I think, thinking a lot about my um, next steps. But that was not the only thing. I mean, it was paired with so many things happening at the same time. That accident happened 3 days after a breakup of an 8-year relationship I had. And then a few months later was COVID and quarantine. And so, for those few months I was on unemployment or disability or whatever, and I then went on to unemployment during COVID and went like 6 to 9 months without work.
That's like three giant compounded incidents, one
Mm-hmm.
after another. No fucking wonder.
Mm-hmm. And on
Wow.
top of all that, I had already considered, the fact that I was kind of feeling stuck
Mm.
in the work I was doing, and I just wanted to feel a little more fulfilled, maybe in the work that I was doing. Um, and so during that time, I think, the first month or so of quarantine was really hard, but then like we started biking, Rennie and I biked together during quarantine,
Yeah.
and I got out and I was like cooking healthy meals for myself every day. And I think I had like this realization that like, I mean, like obviously capitalism is very real, but you hear people say a lot like I need a job. Like I couldn't not work. Like I need a job to like be happy, like to have something to do. And like I had maybe been on that train, and then after not working for a few months, I was like, oh no, like I think it's not that I don't want to do stuff with my day. It's that like I could really, figure out a life without work. That would be very fulfilling. We were going to protests, and um, I was volunteering with the National Lawyers Guild, and teaching some classes on abolition. And I was doing those things like out of a need that I needed to do those for myself, but at the same time, I was discovering like things I could um, do in life that made me feel a lot more fulfilled than the ACing had. And I didn't really put two and two together until a lawyer friend who I did not know very well, reached out to me on Instagram and was like, "Are you thinking about being a lawyer?" Because like I had been posting all this advocacy stuff and posting political education classes during quarantine after the murder of George Floyd, um, and I was like, I don't think I was, but now that you say it, like, should I be? And I looked into studying for the LSAT, and I talked to other people I was protesting with. Another woman, Ali Rubenfeld, who worked in the art department, who you should have on the show, honestly,
Yeah.
because she also was, looking at taking the LSAT, and we were like, should we do this together? Should we leave the film industry and go to law school and be lawyers? And what was so like hard about that for me was that like I never wanted to be a lawyer. Never thought about that in my life. I don't like the law. I don't like the society or the structure of the society that we live in, and like the laws that have constructed that and have defined like the rules and the law, the words that every word we use has been defined by the law, and like we use them without even knowing that. But I guess I wanted to go to law school because I don't like the law, and like it was hard for me because like I was teaching these classes on abolition, and I was like, am I becoming part of a system that I'm like literally advocating against? And can you fight the system from within? I don't know. But ultimately, I looked into like being a social worker, and I looked into other like advocacy options. And every single person I talked to was like, the kind of change you want to make, you can only make as a lawyer. And so, or like they were like, going to law school is going to give you the tools you need to make the most change here. And I also saw a career coach. I reached out to my undergrad of like, I graduated in 2011. So this is 2020 now, and I'm reaching out, and they were like, oh yeah, we have a free career coach. Doesn't matter how many years ago you graduated.
Are you serious? That's amazing.
I know if any of you listening to this are here because you're looking to change careers, worth a try. I don't know if people are listening to this podcast because y'all are like thinking about changing careers or not, but I was thinking about all the different reasons that people switch careers and make big life changes, and looking at what I want in a job, in a career. And I think people all have different goals. Like there's all these different things that you want out of life, out of a career. And some people want to like their job, and some people want life work balance, and some people want a lot of money, and some people want fulfillment. And ultimately, I think something that struck me in looking at being a lawyer is everyone was like, it's really hard. You're going to work all the time. You're not going to have a life work balance. You might not be happy. And I was like, well, I hope those things aren't all true, because this is something I want to do. But I actually don't think my goals right now are happiness and life work balance. I think I'm looking for some sort of like fulfilling, like soul soothing work to do, because what I've been doing has not been doing that for me. It's been, maybe had a life work balance sometimes when I worked commercials. But I talked to the career coach, and I was like, I know it's going to be hard, but I'm single. Like I have this, like, I could study for the LSAT right now because I don't have work, because the film industry is literally shut down. And I decided to do it. And it was really hard. And law school was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I did it, and I graduated, and I passed the bar.
Did you pass the bar on your first try?
I did, thank God, because I never want to do that again.
Such a rock star. That's like a hard thing from what I understand to pass it on the first try. So congratulations.
Thank you. It is hard though. Go ahead.
I will
Sorry.
say, sorry, I have to say a little bit about because I was there when you were like
Hmm.
talking and thinking about going to law school and studying for the LSATs. During the pandemic, I was living in Los Angeles as well. Rachel lives in Los Angeles now, and we were getting together every Tuesday and Thursday morning and riding bikes along the LA River just to like have a schedule, have, human interaction. We were wearing masks, we were social distancing until we realized we didn't have to outside. And, um, Rachel, you were so dedicated and so disciplined. Like your study schedule was very specific and you stuck to it. And that was very admirable because
Thank you.
didn't you pass your LSATs on the first try as well? Or is that
The LSATs aren't pass fail. They just
it's
give you
not
like a
pass fail.
score. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, the biking was, I was just saying this before we started, but biking with Rennie was one of the pillars of my quarantine and really kept me going and helped me study and like gave me the energy to get through that. Um,
Yeah. The Pandemic Biker Babes was our was
yeah,
our group chat name. And there was
with a
four of
group.
us
Yeah.
at sometimes that got together and, were able to get outside, get some fresh air, maybe stop by an outdoor cafe and have some breakfast and
Hmm.
just like, a lot of us lived alone, so it was nice too.
Yeah, you guys were like the only people I saw for like months sometimes,
Yeah,
face to
ditto.
face.
Ditto.
It was so nice. But the wild thing is we were wearing masks like while biking.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Hey, we did it.
Good for
We
us.
did it. So yeah, it was really fun and inspiring to see you. And you're obviously like one of the first people I wanted on this podcast. You just have a very busy life right now and you were studying for the bar. So that's why Rachel's in season 2. But um yeah, so during the pandemic, LSATs got into Loyola
Loyola Law
yes,
School downtown because I was like, I
and
don't want to
in
move.
Los Angeles, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Loyola Law School of Loyola Marymount. They have their law school downtown LA, although the main campus is out west on the west side of LA. And I very much didn't want to change my life to go to law school. I liked where I lived. I did not want a long commute. And I was like, I'll just go somewhere that offers me money that is close by. And it ended up being great. Had a bunch of public interest areas like clinics, which are clinics are like law school clinics anyway, are uh, this kind of like hands-on experience you can have where you get to like practice law with a supervisor and generally they're very public interest oriented. So you're going to have like a gender name changing clinic where you can help people change their name on like their IDs or their gender, I mean. Um, and I did a landlord tenant clinic where I worked with low income tenants to file answers in their eviction cases. So this is now getting into the work I do, but over like, I think it's like over 80,000 people are being evicted in LA every year. And most of these people are low income. Most of them are in rent controlled apartments. Most of their landlords are trying to evict them under false pretenses so that they can rent their apartment out for higher rents because there is no affordable housing anymore. And we have over 80,000 people homeless on the streets of LA. One of the main contributors to homelessness is eviction. And one of the main ways to combat homelessness is helping people stay in their homes.
Hmm.
And so I did this clinic my second year of law school, and I loved it. And I asked if I could extend my time with them. And I did an internship where I took on like a full eviction case with a supervisor and saw it front to back, like did every step of the way until it was going to be until trial. And then we settled and they got a deal.
Nice.
That was, to me, I think one of the most important things that I did in law school because I saw firsthand how you could work with somebody one on one, but like there's this kind of comparison in public interest lawyering where you can either take on clients and help people one on one, or you can do kind of the larger scale work. where you're doing like affirmative litigation, where you're suing a slumlord who has many tenants that they're evicting, or then there's policy work where you can like work with the ACLU and try to change things on a higher level. And so when you go into public interest work, which is the umbrella term for all like the lawyering for like marginalized groups and lower income communities and people who can't afford lawyers, essentially, you have to decide what kind of work you want to do. And I think I learned that I wanted to be face to face with clients at least. And I learned that I could learn very quickly in this eviction defense world and in homelessness prevention, and maybe like after a couple of years, move on to do affirmative litigation or something. But I did end up designing a fellowship, which is in law is like you find funding from an outside source. So I found like a big law firm that wanted to fund public interest work and is paying my salary through a program called Equal Justice Works. And I am hosted at a nonprofit called Neighborhood Legal Services of Los Angeles. And I primarily do, my project is based on helping people whose cases have defaulted. So you have these people who are being evicted. And then you have the landlords. An eviction is a lawsuit. So a landlord sues the tenant for possession of the property. And about 70%, these aren't exact numbers, but around 70% of unlawful detainers, which are eviction cases in Los Angeles County, are defaulting. No, sorry, it's 57% is actually the exact number. 70% is a different number. 57%. So more than half, though. 57% of eviction cases in LA are defaulting, which means that the tenants are never going to get their day in court. So they get, in theory, they're supposed to get served, and then they have to respond to the papers in a certain amount of time, and then they'll have a trial. It may be a jury trial, it may not. And at that trial, they would be able to raise their defenses, which might be, I paid my rent if the landlord is saying they didn't pay, and like they can show evidence that they paid their rent, or that they tried to pay the rent and the landlord wouldn't accept it. Or if the landlord is claiming nuisance, they can show that they didn't do those things, whatever. There's so many different defenses. Like if your apartment is falling apart because you have a slumlord and they're not making repairs, you in theory don't owe that rent. Now, you should keep paying your rent if you're listening to this, even if you have repairs in your apartment. It is very hard to win that kind of eviction case, but it is a good defense. So I'm helping those people who don't get that day in court. Because if you don't get your day in court, the sheriff comes and locks you out. And you might be locked out of your home in 10 days without ever knowing about the case after that landlord evicts you. So
wow,
wild. Yeah, because it's usually not as short as 10 days, but when the landlord files the case, the tenant has 10 days to respond. And it used to be 5 days, but they just changed it in January to 10 days. If you don't respond, the case defaults, the landlord can get a writ of possession, the sheriff can come and post a notice on your door that gives you 5 days to move out. So I guess it's 15 days. Within that 15-day time span, if you don't move out, the sheriff comes to your house and locks you out. You know how I feel about the police and the sheriff's department. But if the sheriff comes and locks you out, they do not let you pack up your stuff. They give you about 10 minutes. If you're in a wheelchair, maybe 15 to leave your apartment. And sometimes they'll do it with force. And they will, they're never nice. I mean, I hear these stories from tenants all the time. And they will literally kick you out of your apartment. And you have 2 days to go back and get all your stuff. But if you're a low-income tenant and you don't have any money, like you're being evicted for non-payment of rent, you're not going to have anywhere to move your stuff. You're not going to have anywhere to go. You're essentially, in most cases, going to be homeless or go to a shelter. There's only 13,000 shelter beds in LA. There's over 80,000 homeless people. You're not going to find a spot in a shelter.
Right. And the process to get in and stay in those shelters is also very convoluted.
You can only bring a certain amount of bags with you. And
you have to check out every day. Like,
you have,
how are you supposed to go to work?
After a certain amount of time, you have to pay for those shelters. Another common misconception people have is that the right to a lawyer tenants come in all the time and they think they have a right to a lawyer. And I have to explain that that's only in criminal court. I mean, you don't, when in a civil case, there is no right to a lawyer. And in LA, we have fought for a right to counsel, which is what a right to a lawyer is called, in these eviction cases. And we are working towards it, but there's just not enough housing lawyers. So like, even if we wanted to provide that work, we need a lot more people to go into the kind of work that I'm now doing, which is also another reason that I went to this work. Is I had a professor who taught homelessness, a homelessness prevention class. And he said, you're going to get a job if you go into this. We just need housing lawyers so badly. And people are voting on funds to go into homelessness prevention, and there's nowhere for that money to go because there's no one to take the money.
Yeah, and there's no plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am very well aware of the situation in Los Angeles. Did a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of mutual aid work there. So wait, okay, so we have to go back to the mechanics of getting into school. Like,
did I jump ahead?
You did, but it's okay. I love hearing what you're doing. You had to take the LSATs, but like the mechanics of applying for school. I'm also very interested in talking to you because you went to school as a single person. You didn't. A lot of people that I've talked to had a like supportive partner that could help float that person while they were in school, and like you were single at the time. You did it on your own. So what were the ways in which you were able to afford to go to school?
I had some money saved up from ACA. I worked a long time in commercials, which pay pretty well. And I was in a little apartment that wasn't too expensive after my breakup. And I also, the thing about law school is that a lot of law schools are going to give you money to go, a lot more than other grad programs you can go to, and a lot more than undergrad. And so most schools offered me at least some money. And Loyola offered me a good amount. So I had like 2/3 of my tuition paid for.
Amazing.
And then the rest I paid for with money I had saved up. And then I also took out some loans that were not too much. I didn't want to. Some people get out of school and they have like $300,000 in loans, and I did not want that.
No.
So I do not have that. And that's a very privileged thing that I was able to do, but I feel very lucky about it. Yeah. There's also, and this is one of those many programs that is likely going to go under attack by the Trump administration, but there is also something called the public interest loan forgiveness program. And anyone who works like a government job or a public interest job, after 10 years of working in the field, gets the rest of their loans taken care of. They don't.
Nice.
Yeah. And so you pay like minimum payment for 10 years and then the rest are gone. So in my head, I was like, if I take out loans, at least after 10 years, I'll be okay. And also you pay less, which is really nice.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's helpful to know that there are options and opportunities to get some, almost, well, I guess it's not technically a scholarship, but it is a scholarship, right? Like the school
scholarship is
awards.
conditional. Yeah. It's conditional in the sense that they're like, if your GPA drops below a certain number, you lose a scholarship, which is very problematic and one of the many problems that I have with institutions like that. But it's another issue. But thankfully, my GPA stayed above it.
Did you work at all during your time at school? I imagine you had to be studying a lot. What was your how did you support yourself in the 4-year? It was 4-year program?
3 years.
Three.
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah, you go to law school for 3 years, and you're 1 out of the first year, you're 2 out of the second, you're 3 out of the third. And I do not know. I did not work. I do not know how people work while they're in law school, unless they're doing some sort of part-time program. I went to school at least 4 days a week, did homework until 10 p.m. at least, and then did homework all day Saturday, usually most of the day Sunday. I mean, maybe some people didn't have to study as hard as I did, but law school is insane. Law school makes you read, I mean, like 300-page textbooks for every class, and you read every single case in them, and you have to read the old law in order to understand the new law. That's how they teach it anyway. And it's just written so arcanely. And even modern law, I mean, there's a movement towards writing clearer and getting rid of the legalese, which are the terms that are like lawyerly terms that, you know, non-lawyers don't know. But and I hope
any contract we sign on set basically
full of legalese
has a lot of legalese.
Yeah. And so fortunately the modern trend is moving away from that. But it is like, it's like a montage in a movie with like somebody like all night just like pulling other books off the bookshelf and reading and researching. That's what every night felt like. I was doing homework in law school, and that's not to say I didn't like it, it just was too much. Like, you know, I wish I had a normal life during those years where I could like hang out with people in the evenings, but I did not for the most part. But it was worth it. All that to say, and I'm jumping forward a little bit now again, but I love my job now, and I very much think it was worth it for me based on what I'm doing. And being a lawyer does not have to be that crazy job you hear about where you work till 10 p.m. every night. It is if you're trying to make $300,000 a year.
If you're trying to be like a partner at a law firm, you're going to probably be abused a little bit.
Yes, no, but I'm working for a nonprofit, so they very much want us to be happy to a certain extent.
Nice. What were some of your biggest challenges or hurdles? You kind of touched on the studying.
What's really cool about going to law school after working in film is like realizing how many things I learned in film that actually crossed over, which doesn't answer your question directly, but I'll get there.
No, but that's my next question anyway, so we can go. Let's go there.
Yeah. Like on set, in every job on set, I think you learn problem solving and working under pressure and working under stress and like working on your feet, and like everything is so time sensitive. You have a big name actor walking the set and you like have to solve a problem in 10 minutes. And you don't, although seeing was a very physical job, we were like using our brains to like analyze what went wrong with the camera and fix it so that we could get back up half the time. And so going into studying for the LSAT and going into law school, I realized that I had worked that analytical part of my brain. Like I was scared. I was scared when I went in. I was like, I haven't studied for tests since like high school because I went to film school.
Yeah.
We didn't take tests. We made movies.
Yeah.
And so I was worried, and thankfully we had worked that part of our brain. I knew how to be stressed, not an advocate of anyone having to be stressed like that for any job or any career, but I did do it, and I did succeed and graduate and everything. So I do have film to thank for part of that.
Giving you the anxiety to succeed.
Yeah. What I thought was going to be my biggest challenge was not having used that part of my brain, not having studied, not knowing how to study. And it turned out, you know, that part was okay. It's a lot. Law school was a lot of decision making. What kind of law do you want to work in? And what classes do you want to take to get you there? There's so many different courses. Do you want to take bar courses and be ready for the bar? Or do you want to take classes you're interested in? Abolition law was one of my favorite classes, and I'm so glad I took that instead of another bar class. Do I want to do more hands-on work and internships than classes? And how do you balance that load with like real life and you know, still come out of law school a human being with friends and family that you love and that you support and that support you, and not kind of like drive everyone insane with like this like huge life change you're going through for 3 years. Was really hard for me. And I really had to work on a balance, especially because, and this is a whole nother story that you know about my life, but I thought I was going to be single all throughout law school. And I like, that was a part of the plan. I was like, I will be single. Like no one will have to rely on me. Like I will just study. It will be great. I'll go home and like have my little apartment to study in. It's so quiet. Got a cute little desk in the corner and my plants and my cat. Halfway through, I did end up in a relationship, and not with one person, but with two people. And I ended up in a throuple with two people I have known for a long time, who were married and trying to have kids, two women. And so they had been going through the process of trying to get pregnant for years. And I knew that as I was going into this relationship, which was interesting because I was like, oh, like if they have a kid, is that my kid? Like, how far into this relationship do we get to make that decision? Is this dumb? Like, what? Well, but I love them. Like, I don't want to break up because of that, but it's not, hasn't been part of my relationship story that we're trying to have a kid. And they were like, oh, we've been trying to get pregnant for like years. It won't happen like in the first few months of dating. And then of course, Julia, one of my partners, gets pregnant like 4 months into dating. And so we had to have a lot of hard conversations about what that would look like for our relationship while I was in law school, while I was transitioning and having this huge life transition out of the film industry and into law, and busy all the time and doing homework until 10 p.m. And ultimately we decided that and this, happened over time. It wasn't in month 4 we decided this, but ultimately we decided that I would be a parent and we were going to do it together. And that was something we wanted to do. And it was really scary and hard. And now here we are, and I have twins that are 2 years old, one girl, one boy. And it has been a wonderful experience. And I love my family. And I did not expect to be doing the third year of law school with infant twins that I was waking up throughout the night to take care of and then studying all day. But I guess part of me is like, well, I did 2 hard things at once. So I had a really stressful year. And then now the 2 years, I find 2 years old to be much easier than the first infant year, especially with twins.
Yeah. I remember when you told me it's because you were in a relationship with a man for 8 years.
Yeah.
And you broke up. And I remember when we were bike riding, you're like, I think I might be bi.
It was not a revelation to me. I think I had known that for a long time.
Yeah.
But it was the first time in my life I was seriously dating women. And I just didn't realize that how quickly I guess every lesbian is like, no, this is just what we do. But a year into my new relationship, we had twins. I couldn't be happier. Yeah.
It's just wild. You had huge shifts starting in 2020 that now got you to here.
No more big changes, please. That was good. Enough big changes for the rest of my life.
I will wish that for you as well.
Thank you.
Is there anything you wish you would have done differently? It sounds like no, but is there anything that you wish that you would have maybe done with a little bit more grace, or
This is one of those questions that's so hard in retrospect, because I'm like, I love where I am. I am so happy I made all the changes I made. I love my job and my family, and like the country is in turmoil right now, and there's so many things that make me unhappy, but my little life, I am very happy about at the moment. And
I love
so
that,
I don't know.
Rachel.
Yeah, thank you. And Rennie, you were there for like such a long leg of that. Like, it was so nice to have your support through all of that, and to just have people to talk to, especially during quarantine.
Yeah, you were definitely a rock for me as well. So yeah, I'm gonna cry.
I mean, for anyone looking to make a career change, it's just like, I definitely recommend looking at your options and what kind of jobs, like going back to school, really can give you. I listened to one of your other podcasts in preparation for this with Catherine, another camera assistant, because we used to work together as well. And
She's
she,
great.
I think she talked about how like she really looked at, what job she wanted to do instead of like what she wanted to go back to school for. And I think at this age, like I went back to school in my early 30s. that's so important because you don't want to feel that sense of loss or spend a lot of money on school that and then end up not knowing what you want to do after school. So
Yeah, knowing the end result, or like at least a close
yeah.
idea of what the end result will be.
Mhm.
Um,
I think if anything, I wish I like looked into the different law like things lawyers can do and what like I knew I wanted to do public interest work, and so I wish I knew like how much a public interest lawyer made, and what um, they did day to day. And I'm like, no complaints now, but like I think that would have helped my decision making process.
yeah. How did you, you said that you got a fellowship and then sponsored to work at this. How did you go about um creating that for yourself and knowing that, I mean, have a job right out of school is pretty great, but is that the norm, or is that just something that you um created for yourself?
I don't know if it's the norm. I think because I'm older, like a lot of the kids I was in school with were in going straight into law school from undergrad or just took a single year off.
Mhm.
I think I was maybe a little more motivated to have a job straight out of school and to have a job I liked. And so I looked like my second year of law school, I was looking into options like how to get money for to do the job I wanted to do. And what I really liked about the fellowship is it was you design your own job. Like you're not fulfilling a position that's already been designed. You're writing a project. You're like, this is a gap I see in the system. These are people I want to help. And I specifically pitched a project on helping people with defaults in their eviction cases. Um, and I had to interview with multiple law firms. And one of them, thankfully, chose me. And it's a 2-year fellowship. And at the end, I hope I do continue to work for this nonprofit. But it's like, so right now I have a 2-year job essentially where I just do this work. And I'm my own boss. I have supervisors who definitely like give me ideas and work with me and I meet with, but um, it's really nice kind of to have like this like one thing to focus on for 2 years and really see the changes it's bringing. And like also with the one-on-one work, it's so lovely when people come back and tell me, their success stories after the help they've
Oh, that's
received.
great.
And yeah, it's
That's
nice.
really great. Um, you said that you've been doing a little bit more public speaking. Is that what you kind of mean? Like, did you have to give presentations to these law firms in order to get them to fund your project?
Um, so when I was in law school, I helped run the Public Interest Law Foundation, doing like public interest kind of presentations for students. And I was really practicing like speaking in a room full of people at those. And I learned, funnily enough, that I do not like public speaking. And that I kind of black out when I public speak and I get really anxious. And so I realized I should probably do something where I don't have to do too much of that. Um, However, uh, turns out eviction work does require a lot of time in court. And so I do hearings for some clients, or I have done some hearings. Right now, I'm not doing too many, but I am building up to doing more. And those are short, so those are okay. If I end up doing like a trial, I'm sure I will have to do a lot more public speaking. But fortunately, with this fellowship, it is kind of up to me how much of that I do at the moment. And I have learned, the more I do it, the more comfortable I get in court and then the easier it becomes. But ultimately, I don't want to be in court every day. I would rather be writing motions and meeting with clients. And to be honest, like half the time or more than half the time, like the judge reads a motion and they've made a decision on it before you ever make any oral argument. Um, and so I find like my strengths lay in my writing and argument building anyway, so that doesn't matter that I'm not spending too much time speaking in court. I'm coming at this from the self-help perspective a lot of times, which is why I'm not in court too much. Like I'm working with clients to file their own paperwork, and I'm filling it out or I'm writing motions for them. But then they represent themselves, which in these cases, honestly, if it's just a simple hearing, they can advocate for themselves better than I can anyway. And I kind of like can determine who can do that for themselves and not after meeting with them, like if they're particularly articulate or know their case really well, and that kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's just so wild to like, you're so grounded and so, you're a lawyer now.
Wild to me.
So excited.
No, people ask what I do, and I still am like, I work for a nonprofit. Like saying I'm a lawyer sounds so beyond who I am. I've never identified with it, and I'm trying to. I
Better
know.
get used to
Yeah,
that.
I know.
Um, is there anything that you miss about set?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I liked ACing. I didn't leave the industry because I hated ACing. We just went over all the reasons I left, but I loved the people I worked with. I loved going to set and we got to hang out all day and I don't just mean like the talking about things that didn't relate to set. I loved how we all worked together and like created a team,
Mm.
and created sometimes something so beautiful. And I also did like the technical work I was doing, not the physical aspect, but felt really satisfying at the end of the day if we did a shoot and the DP came up to me and they were like, good work, like, can't believe you kept that shot in focus. Or I watched something back and I was like, I can't believe I kept that shot in focus. That was all really satisfying to me and I did like it a lot. And I still dream about it. I have dreams where I'm pulling focus.
What's your life like now? What's different? Like we talked a little bit about work, but
Well, the biggest difference is I go to work Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And although I might sometimes take work home with me, I generally just go and pick the kids up at daycare. And I'm home by 5:45, 6. And we kids eat dinner, the kids go to bed. Like I watch some TV with my partners, Love is Blind, Severance, White Lotus. um, I don't think when I worked in film, I got to do that like cozy evening in where I got to watch TV every night. And like, I just love it. And I love on the weekends being able to meet up with friends and get drinks and not feeling stressed about my Monday. I'm sure this will happen at some point, but I don't get the Sunday scaries yet. Like I kind of look forward to going to work. I think that also comes with having kids, though. There's something nice about going to work on Monday after spending all weekend with your 2 screaming toddlers. I think a lot about men in the 50s going to work with their wife staying home. And I mean, that still happens today, but like the typical nuclear family. And I'm like, what? Those women were working so much harder than those men. Those men were in their offices, like relaxing.
they were probably so stoked to go to work on Monday and then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I love that. I just love everything. Do you ever see yourself going back?
Into film?
Yeah.
No, I do not. I do not think I would ever take a job in film again. I can't think of a scenario where I would do that. The one thing I've taken with me is I love photography. When I worked in film, I also took photography jobs on the side. And I don't take those jobs, but I do love to do like if someone, like a friend, asked me to do a pregnancy shoot or just a Christmas card shoot. I just love going and taking photos with my friends, format film. And that does make me really happy. And also taking photos of my kid just feels, instead of like it feeling so much pressure to take a beautiful photo, it just is like a nice hobby now. And I enjoy that change as well.
Is there anything I missed? I feel like we went through. Is there anything that you want to add or any advice you want to give? You gave a lot of decent advice throughout, but is there anything you want to add?
I mean, this is maybe a bigger answer than your question asks for.
I'm here for it. I'm here
Yeah.
for it.
So something I thought a lot about in law school and before and after is like the 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 breaking down of like the ideas we have for anything, the structure that we have in our brain that's kind of like designed by us, by living in this society. And I've broken it down in so many ways over the last few years with the help of other people, either accidentally or on purpose. And one of the ways I did that was like telling myself it's okay to change careers. I think some people, maybe someone who goes right to law school after undergrad, has a very different upbringing than me. I mean, my parents were teachers. Like, I was privileged enough to have what I needed growing up, but I never, especially as like a woman, maybe, and I didn't think that I could go to law school. Like, I only knew old white lawyers growing up. I didn't have any representation of like just like a young hip lawyer or something. I don't know. Like, I started going to protests in 2020 and met lawyers when I was legal observing. And I was like, oh, like, you're a lawyer. Like, and now I've had people say that to me. And I'm like, yes, like, I've had to change my brain chemistry around who can do what. And that it's okay to change jobs. And again, very privileged to be able to go back to school. I identify that. But if you can, I would say, and you want to, I would say do it, and don't any thinking where you're like, but I shouldn't, but I can't, but I don't know. Like, well, first, like, dig into that, like, talk to someone who does it, try to find someone who you relate to. They're out there. Or you could, you could be the first that does it. There's no reason that you need that representation necessarily if you are motivated enough. And I would say go for it. If there's an inkling in your brain, just explore it. You don't have to go to law school. In fact, I wouldn't recommend that unless you really, really want to. It's really hard. But yeah, and that goes for anything in your life. I mean, like, I'm in a throuple. Like, you don't have to do things the way anyone tells you to do them. I had kids before getting married, like all these things. Now I'm like, oh, like, each time I do something like that, like, it opens up so many pathways, like, in my brain and in life, where I'm like, you can do whatever you want. I sound very much like a parent. That's not true. You can't. There's so many barriers in life. You can't do whatever you want. But if you think you have the option, try. I would say try.
Rachel, thank you so much for taking all the time. I'm so excited to catch up with you, and I appreciate you being on The Company Move.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Company Move is produced by me, Rennie Pollack, and is produced and edited by Robin Lavecchio. Special thanks to Selena Persiani-Shell for designing our graphics. Our theme music was written by Cliff Beach and performed by Cliff Beach and Alex Nestor. You can follow Cliff on Spotify or check out his website at cliffbeachmusic.com. Our interstitial music was composed and performed by Gabe Rosen. If you have questions, suggestions, or want to be a guest, you can email us at companymove.pod@gmail.com. We're moving away from Meta, so no more Insta, but follow us on Blue Sky by searching for @CompanyMovePod. Follow and rate us on whatever platform you listen to us on, and if you like us, please leave us a review. It helps for listeners to find us. That's a wrap for this week. Thanks for listening. Come on back next week for a new episode of The Company Move.